Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. Hugh Hewitt. Welcome to my 400 affiliates. That, of course, is Sir Elton John. I'm still standing. I'm here every day. But the reason I'm playing that is that Elton John and Michael Caine, both of them, Sir Elton John and Sir Michael Caine, made a great, as only the Brits can do, great public service announcement, which I want to play for you right now.
My name is Elton John.
Cut there. Little less showbiz, Elton.
My name is Elton John.
Bit more showbiz.
My name is Elton John.
Let's go for your Michael Caine impression. Just let's see what it's like.
My name is Elton John.
Beautiful. Cut there.
The more people in society that get vaccinated, the more chance there is of eradicating the national COVID pandemic. It's really important to know that the vaccines have all been through and met the necessary safety and quality standards.
So this is the bit where you're going to have the vaccine now, Elton. So
Right.
just kind of pretend that you're having the vaccine from a nurse.
Oh,
What was that, Elton?
that was me acting.
Okay, let's cut there.
And as you can see, I'm still standing. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Elton. We'll let you know.
Oh, well, at this short notice, you won't find anyone bigger.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Michael Caine. I've just had a vaccine for COVID. It didn't hurt. Not many people know that.
And cut there. Marvellous. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Sir Michael. Claire, let the little fella know he didn't get the job.
That is so terrific. Okay, we're going to play it again. Go over to my YouTube channel if you want to watch it. Just go to YouTube. I'll give you a second and type in Hugh Hewitt, and it'll come up. It's in the rundown today. It's just terrific. The Brits do this so much. You know, this summer I was trying to advise people in the government on how to do a rollout campaign because I knew, of course the government screwed it up. And they just made it way too hard. Way too complicated. All you needed was Denzel Washington. Funny. No one would listen to me. That's okay. Republicans aren't very creative. Brits are creative. And maybe Team Biden will be creative. Here it is again from the BBC.
My name is Elton John.
Cut there. Little less showbiz, Elton.
My name is Elton John.
Bit more showbiz.
My name is Elton John.
Let's go for your Michael Caine impression. Just let's see what it's like.
My name is Elton John.
Beautiful. Cut there.
The more people in society that get vaccinated, the more chance there is of eradicating the national COVID pandemic. It's really important to know that the vaccines have all been through and met the necessary safety and quality standards.
So this is the bit where you're going to have the vaccine now, Elton. So
Right.
just kind of pretend that you're having the vaccine from a nurse.
Oh,
What was that, Elton?
that was me acting.
Okay, let's cut there.
And as you can see, I'm still standing. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Elton. We'll let you know.
Oh, well, at this short notice, you won't find anyone bigger.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Michael Caine. I've just had a vaccine for COVID. It didn't hurt. Not many people know that.
And cut there. Marvellous. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Sir Michael. Claire, let the little fella know he didn't get the job.
All right, look, the point is you want to get the vaccine. The point is many of you can't get the vaccine because they haven't figured it out yet, at least in California. In West Virginia, they can make it work. In California, the fetching Mrs. Hewitt went to get her hair done yesterday in a socially acceptable, doors open, freezing situation, talking to the guy who's done her hair since, the beginning of time. And Ron has had his, but he can't get his 90-year-old parents to get theirs. They want to, but they can't find it anywhere in Orange County, California. And that's because Gavin Newsom is governor. And I like Gavin. They just honestly keep it simple, stupid. Bill Simon, former Secretary of Treasury, first day I went to work as the first director of the Nixon Library, said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Kiss. I said, what? He said, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. This is the most complicated dummy system I've ever seen. We haven't got anyone doing ads like Elton John and Michael Caine. Any event, good news. Let me give you some good news from the Wall Street Journal. Brutal COVID-19 surge in the U.S. weakens significantly. Newly reported cases and hospitalizations have dropped over the past month, but whether a turning point has been reached isn't yet clear. Newly reported cases have dropped 56% over the last month on a 7-day average, marking a significantly steeper fall than the U.S. saw after the spring and summer surges. Hospitalizations have declined 38% since January 6th. The 7-day average of COVID-19 tests returning positive fell over the past week to 6.93%, the lowest since October 31st. You think we can go back to school yet? Everybody? Teachers' unions? Yes, we can. Gosh, teacher unions have managed to become the villains of this thing. Unlike during earlier moments in the pandemic, case counts are heading lower amid a mass inoculation effort. But even after such a steep decline, cases and hospitalizations remain higher than during earlier surges, and deaths continue to hover near records, and the rise of the most contagious coronavirus could quickly worsen the spread. So we got to get going on the inoculation program, and it's not that hard. Drop it down to age 60 and say, come one, come all, and stand in line. No more appointments. And that will self-regulate. All right, come one, come all. And if you get a note from your doctor that says you've got an underlying condition, you can come too. It will self-regulate. We don't need the freaking government. The government just got to give you the shot. This is the dumbest. Don't get me started on this. Honestly, this could have been, all they had to do was put the vaccine out through the normal channels, through doctors, MDs, hospitals, CVS. I'm glad they got big parking lots full of cars. But you centralize and you give it to people who don't know what they're doing. And of course, it's a snarl. And you set up a big computer system. And what do you get? The second rollout of Obamacare. Just like the first rollout of Obamacare. The second rollout of Obamacare has been a giant snarl. Like a triple knot that you put through the wash and dried 3 times. You'll never get it undone. Like a 3-year-old tying their shoes for the first time, tighter and tight and showing off. That's what the government does when they try and line people up. So keep in there. I also want to give you another bit of good news. The vaccine reduces the spread risk even before the second shot, according to Israeli studies. Now, I trust the Israeli studies. I mean, I really do. The Chinese studies you can throw in the garbage, but the Israeli studies, you can toss that. Vaccinated people become far less of a COVID transmission risk even before receiving their second dose, a new game-changing Israeli study has concluded. The first mass research of its kind on patients who test positive for the coronavirus and are confirmed to have been at least partially vaccinated, study found that such patients have far smaller viral loads than those who haven't received the vaccine. Which, by the way, brings to relief another point I've tried to make to my vaccinated friends. You can still transmit the virus, which is why you still want to wear a mask until we get to herd immunity when you're around other people. You are immune, but you can still spread. This is not rocket science. Again, the government doesn't have to deliver this message. We need Elton John, Sir Michael Caine, and Hugh Hewitt. And we all share one thing in common, a wonderful voice. I haven't interviewed Elton John. I have interviewed Sir Michael before. He's a wonderful fella. Now, look, go and get the vaccine for the virus as soon as possible. Help your mom and dad get it. Help your grandma and grandpa get it. Do a Zoom thing with them. Did you see the Zoom thing yesterday where the lawyer was a cat filter? Did anyone see that?
I've got it.
It's the fun. Can we show that? That's the funniest damn thing I have seen on video in a long time. It's real. Okay, play it if you got it, Dwayne.
Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're trying to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
If you missed the rundown today, go over to YouTube and watch the rundown. You get Elton John, Michael Caine, and the dumbest lawyer in America who says, I'm prepared to proceed. I'm not a cat. I don't know who that is, but the client shouldn't have paid for that hour. I'll be right back, America, on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. The American experiment is founded upon a presupposition, a prior commitment to an ordered liberty, an established order. That means policies. It means a covenant. In our case, it means a constitution. As of right now, the U.S. Constitution is the longest surviving written constitution in human history. It's a remarkable document. All of that came to the fore in violent events that interrupted the joint session of Congress to count the votes of the Electoral College. At the end of the day, our constitutional order proved itself once again resilient. But that doesn't take away any of the tragedy and the horror of what took place. It was an enormous stress test on ordered liberty, a stress test brought on by the President of the United States.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
It's an opportunity for the right, the left, conservatives, liberals, all Americans to repudiate political violence and reaffirm, once again, our commitment to ordered liberty. It's the American way. I'm Albert Mohler.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
What else should people who are just waking up to the threat of whatever you want to call it, wokeism, critical theory, what else should they read? And then on top of that, James, if you really want to do something about it beyond, I don't know how we're going to begin to break up the mafia that is the schools of education, what can general listeners and viewers do, in your opinion?
Okay, so, I mean, I don't mean to shill for myself. It's not usually my style. But I created the website New Discourses to try to make something that people can read. It's not to say that there's nothing out there. There are other books. Mike Gonzalez's book, The Plot to Change America, is not bad. I've read that. Rod Dreher's book, Live Not by Lies, I think is important, especially to the second part of your question. Where I'm going to mention Solzhenitsyn here in a second, as it is, for what the average person can do. But I do encourage people to go read New Discourses. I think I've published close to 500,000 words in the last year, most of which I wrote myself to try to get information out about this. So you can see, I know it's a little bit heady, it's a little bit scholarly. You're right about Breitbart. Breitbart read these guys and is extremely good at breaking it down in a way that's more digestible than I'm a little scholarly past that. You may want to read. Is it Martin Gurri? Gurri is certainly the last name, Gurri, Revolt of the Public, for example, to see the role that the internet plays, these social networks play in what's happening now. It's a different kind of attack. It's not going to explain to you the nature of this side of the problem. It's going to explain to you the nature of the information world that we're trapped in. I do encourage everybody, though, to go read some Herbert Marcuse, especially Repressive Tolerance, for themselves directly.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Lived it. Look, let's be honest, Daryl. You suffered. You really suffered. You went through it, but you're living proof God did this in your life. We're not summed up by our baseball statistics, at least not in God's economy.
No, we're not, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I suffered because it made me greater in the end. Because God looks at the end; He doesn't look at the beginning. I think people look at the beginning, and God has a long-term plan for our life, which is far greater than any baseball achievement or any success I've ever had in life. To be in the end part of my life and running the race for real and having victory, being victorious through Christ Jesus, and knowing that I'm victorious and not looking back. I think too many of us get consumed with what was the beginning of who we were. Had I got consumed with that, had I not known that I had a mother that was praying for me, that I had a wife that was praying for me, and that God had a plan for me, I wouldn't have never been able to get to this place I'm at today. I'm more victorious than any home run I ever hit. And I've hit some big ones in my days of playing ball. But in life, to be able to be in God's plan, I'm not qualified.
Good Wednesday morning, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. I didn't mention the impeachment trial yesterday for the simple reason it's a sham. It's an unconstitutional exercise in politicization of the country and deepening the divisions. I love the fact it's also over. It's over. They had a vote at the beginning. Is this constitutional? 44 senators said yes, it's unconstitutional. That means they cannot get to the 67 necessary to convict. So it's over. Even the New York Times has a headline, which I tweeted out. If you follow me on Twitter at Hugh Hewitt, scroll down, you'll see Trump may have enough votes for acquittal. You think? The Senate voted 56 to 44 that the impeachment trial was unconstitutional. You think he's got enough votes to be acquitted? They can pick up all 6 of the Republicans who don't think it's unconstitutional. They may or may not. I don't know. They may or may not. But they're not going to get the 67 votes necessary not to remove him, which is why it's unconstitutional, but to allegedly bar him from office, which it would not have the effect of doing since it is a non-jurisdictional proceeding. He could run for president even if they convicted him. So it's a complete and utter sham. I'm not spending any time on it. It's over. It's like talking about the who's going to win the Super Bowl, guys? What do you think? Tampa Bay or Kansas City? Who's going to win the Super Bowl, Dwayne? Who's gonna, do you see? That's about as good an answer as Dwayne ever gives. Adam, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Adam doesn't know. Adam doesn't care. He's Canadian. He's a Canadian. Does Tom Brady? Okay, see, we got a prediction from him. How about you, Harley and Ben? Got any predictions on the Super Bowl? Who's going to be the MVP? Who's going to win? Got any predictions? 49ers, baby. That's Ben. Harley, you got any predictions on the Super Bowl?
I got no dog in this fight.
No dog in this fight. And you see, this conversation is as relevant and intelligent as the impeachment trial because it's over. O-V-E-R, over. Unconstitutional. 44 people cannot possibly be convicted. Just over. Don't waste a minute. That's a minute you can't get back. I watched the movie yesterday, the new Denzel Washington movie, The Little Things. And he says a couple of times, it's the little things that'll get you. It's the little things that'll get you. Here's a little thing. The trial is over. So don't waste your time with minutes you'll never get back. Read a book. Watch Denzel Washington, HBO Max, The Little Things. Kind of a creepy movie. But Denzel was good. Let me check the markets, brought to you by Birch Gold. And Birch Gold, if you'd bought it yesterday, you'd be up 0.19% this morning. Gold at 1841. But that's not why you buy it. It's not GameStop, which continues its plummet back to earth. That which goes up must come down. I'm telling you, Bitcoin people. Just be careful out there. As they used to say in Hill Street Blues, which everyone buying Bitcoin is too young to remember, just be careful out there. If you're on Robinhood and you're invested in AMC and GameStop, I'm sorry, last rites for you. Turns out Senator Toomey's son made a killing for a couple of days and was smart enough to get out. It was a bubble. It was a sham. Gold's not that. Gold is gold. Gold goes in the safety deposit box. You give it to your kids, who give it to their kids, who give it to their kids. Eventually, when it appreciates, you give it to charity and you take the deduction at the appreciated amount. It's an anchor. And you ought to put some of your retirement into it, no more than 25%. I recommend 10%. And I recommend actually owning physical gold and putting it in your safety deposit box. Go to hughgold.com to get the Birch Gold. Everybody trusts them. They're very, very careful. They're very, very ethical. I buy my gold from them. Or you can text my name, Hugh, to 474747. Yesterday, the Dow was off 9 points. The NASDAQ was up 20. The S&P was down 4 as the market figured out what's going on. But everything is green abroad today. Japan closed up 0.2%. Hong Kong had a great day, 1.97%. Maybe they actually discovered a vaccine that works over there. You never know. I wouldn't take their vaccine for the money and tea in China. England and Germany are both up as well. They're open. I'm telling you, get out of GameStop. Be wary of Bitcoin. Get some money into gold and come right back for part 2 of the Hugh Hewitt Show. Go to hughgold.com. Text my name, Hugh, to 474747. I'm for a big part. I am absolutely for a big part of the Democratic proposal. I'll tell you about it after the break on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
The day has finally come. This is CNN report. You've received the second dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Does that mean you're free to go about life as you did before the pandemic once immunity kicks in? Sorry, there is no immunity passport yet, experts told CNN. There are still safety precautions you need to follow in order to keep you, your loved ones, and everyone else safe, protected from the deadly coronavirus. Now, here are some answers to questions. Can I please stop wearing a face mask? Let's face it, the answer is no. It's not 100% protection. Everyone is different in terms of their immune responses as irrelevant to the issue of a mask. So that is that's the latest on that. Masks will still be mandatory even after you have a vaccination. Remember Typhoid Mary Mallon? She was an Irish immigrant who worked as a cook for New York families and refused to believe she was an asymptomatic conduit for typhoid fever because she remained healthy. Mallon contaminated at least 122 people in the 1880s. There you go. That's the proof. Mallon gave 188 people in 122 days.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Lon Chen of the Hoover Institution for townhall.com. The Biden administration announced in their first week that the U.S. is rejoining the World Health Organization. But the WHO is a flawed group, one that has performed poorly while the world has struggled with COVID-19. Early on, the group was far too deferential to China, even parroting Beijing's early claim that the virus could not be transmitted between humans. Since then, an independent panel concluded that the WHO dithered in its response, waiting too long to declare an international emergency. All the while, the WHO has continued to block Taiwan's participation because of political objections from the Chinese government, despite the fact that the world has much to learn from Taiwan's exceptional response to the virus. Before rejoining the WHO, we should have demanded some accountability and reform from the group for the $400 million in taxpayer dollars we send to it each year. It looks like we'll keep on writing blank checks to the WHO, which they are more than happy to keep cashing. I'm Lon Chen.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
How can they do what they do to the Republicans, and Republicans cannot do anything to them? They
know about it. I've done a video about it. Go on YouTube. I've written about it. A guy named Jay Homnick, who was there when this racist scheme was hatched, has written about it. American Spectator. Article is called Race to the Top. Google it. I've interviewed him a couple times on my program. Google that. Nobody seems to care.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
And there's another headline I saw over at Politico that caught my eye. No, conservatives shouldn't quit on the GOP. There was a lot of party drama last night involving the freshman congresswoman from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Liz
Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Thanks for listening. Hey, I want you to sit down because I'm about to say good things about Democrats. But I'll begin. If you're looking at my video feed, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, right over here, right over there, let me see if I can get this right on the camera. There you'll see my favorite license plate of all time, MIT 12. That's a Buckeye plate. The owner of it sent it to me, so it's in my studio. And MIT 12 was, of course, when Governor Romney, now Senator Romney, was running for president. I was all in for Governor Romney. I still consider him to be the best qualified candidate of the last 50 years. And it's too doggone bad he did not beat President Obama, or we would have avoided a lot of nightmares. Russia was indeed our biggest enemy at the time. Now it's China, and he knows that too. But so Governor Romney came out with a proposal last week, now Senator Romney. He unveiled a plan that would provide American families with a bigger financial boost than what is proposed in the Biden administration's $1.9 trillion relief package. Romney released the Family Security Act, which would provide families up to $3,000 a year in financial support per child ages 6 to 17 and up to $4,200 in a year for infants to the age of 6. And immediately I stopped and started thinking about that, and I still am, because Governor Romney is smarter than everybody else in the Senate, except maybe Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, who are equal to his brains. But he, of course, has a lot more experience than they do, and he was a governor. And I said, okay, what is Governor Romney up to here? And I began to think about it, and of course, he realizes that the Democrats are going to spend $2 trillion. Because Joe Biden's got that in his head. I got to spend more money than Obama did. I'm going to spend twice as much money as Obama did. That's really where the 1.9 comes from. It's 2 times the $800 million that President Obama spent. So Joe's going to be twice as generous as President Obama. That's how they sold it to Joe. I don't care. They're going to spend it. So when you know that the train is coming at you, and we don't have that money, we're making that money up. We got economists left, right, and center saying that's way too much money. We got people pointing out the states haven't spent the $350 billion, which they got in the last round. We got Mitch McConnell shaking his head and said, I told you I needed a vote in Georgia. I told you. So we're going to spend the $1.9 trillion. Now you can sit around and pull out your hair, but that's not what I do. I figure, okay, how do we spend the $1.9 trillion to the best effect? And I think Governor Romney, now Senator Romney, put out his plan in order to signal, hey, Republicans over here, at least this makes sense. Of all the money they're going to spend, they want to spend it primarily on bailing out the pension funds of public employee unions. People who are retired and not productive at present want to make sure that their pension promises of the last 40 years, which were profligate, are fully funded, because they're not. They're all bankrupt. California keeps making promises they can't. They're writing checks they can't cash, like Illinois, like Connecticut. So Democrats at the state level want money for their pension funds. And they want money for their they don't want to make any hard choices. They don't want to raise, they can't raise any more taxes in California. Everything is taxed. If I walk into the state longer than I intend on being there this year, they'll start taxing me again. All of you who come to state, before long, they'll pass a bill that if you land, you owe them $10. Just because you landed there. You might not even be staying. You might be going on to Hawaii. It won't matter. They'll have a $10 tax for coming into the state. Because that's what they do. And that's why they're broke compared to Texas and Florida. So the deal becomes, what can they spend the money on? Governor Romney put out his Family Act, and then along comes Congressman Neal, Richard Neal, who is Democrat of Massachusetts, and he is chairman of Ways and Means in the House, so he actually gets to decide what is going to be in the gigantinormous $2 trillion spending bill. And he wants a child tax credit as well of $3,000 for kids 6 to 17 and $3,600 a year for children 6 and younger. Very similar to the Romney plan, a little bit cheaper when it comes to kids under the age of 6. To which Hugh Hewitt says, I like the Neal plan because he's going to have it paid. This is actually Richard Nixon's negative income tax, if any of you can remember that. It's going to be paid regardless of whether or not you pay taxes. And it's going to be sent to you in $300 or $250 amounts every month by the IRS. Everyone's got to file to get it, and you don't have to pay taxes. If you do pay taxes, you're going to have to pay taxes on that, or it'll be a credit. It won't be charged to you. But they're going to use the IRS to put the money out. This is terrific. If they're going to spend the money, this is the best thing. Do it by children. The reason being, that which gets rewarded gets repeated. And we need more children. It's the most pro-life thing the Democratic Party has proposed in 100 years. It gets the government out of it. There is no bureaucracy. Well, the IRS is there, but it already exists. If you're going to spend money, do that. There's a second thing I'm wondering about. Where is the same kind of credit for seniors? Seniors now, you listen disproportionately to talk radio. I believe something like 40% of my audience is 65 and older. You get nothing in the Biden plan. You've worked your whole life. You put money into Social Security. Everybody knows it's bankrupt. They could fully fund it with the trust fund, and they could put it in Al Gore's famous lockbox, and then your benefits would be guaranteed forever. They're not doing that. You might want to call your congressman and senator and say, what's in it for me? I'm a senior citizen. I am owed Social Security. You know it's going to go broke, and you know Medicare is going to go broke, Medicare first. Why don't you fully fund the Medicare and Social Security trust funds before you spend it on the public employee pensions, which, by the way, give them gold-plated and platinum-plated health care retirement? Why are you doing that? Why are you giving any money to schools, by the way? They're not even open, and they're not going to open. If you heard Joe Biden's press secretary yesterday, they announced the new Biden plan, which of course has got nothing to do with the Biden plan that was announced during the campaign. The new Biden plan for schools from Jen Psaki, cut number 5.
Sure. His goal that he set is to have the majority of schools, so more than 50%, open by day 100 of his presidency. And that means some teaching in classrooms. So at least one day a week. Hopefully it's more. And obviously it is as much as is safe in each school and local district.
When you say some teaching, you didn't use the same majority qualifier there. You just have to have some teaching in school, some teachers in school, not the majority of teachers in school and the majority of classrooms.
Well, teaching at least one day a week in the majority of schools by day 100.
Okay, and that's in-person teaching?
In-person teaching, yes.
Do you realize that that's not a goal? That's a failure, given what the science says? Do you realize that that's by May 1, 1 day a week in school for a majority of schools. So half schools can be closed, or 49.999% of schools can be closed. And the other 50.0001% of schools
are closed 4 days out of 5.
Can be closed 4 days out of 5. And then that 1 day is going to be an in-service day for teachers, because that counts. That's my own view. So you realize they're not going to have teachers come back to school because the teachers' own unions have the Biden administration around the throat. They have their hands around the throat. So Jen Psaki announced on the record yesterday, but of course the reporters are not going to report this, that they have given up. They have given up until August or September. Teachers are out. Now, if you're a teacher and you're teaching, and some school districts are, you might be asking yourself, why am I teaching? Why do I have to do this? Why can't I do the pretend teaching? And I know that some teachers are going to say it's really hard to teach virtually. It's pretend teaching. It's not working. We have the statistics on the number of children who pretend to show up. And we know that the metric that they use to pretend to show up is a check-in in some districts once a week. They have to sign onto their computer once a week. And mom and dad can do it. They're not going to school. It's a lost generation. And it's not realistic to believe that it's because of the science, because the science says it's safe to go back to school. Dwayne's wife is teaching in school in one of the sane districts in America. And the most public schools, like Chicago, they're not sane. Los Angeles, they're not sane. And the reason why? Because Democrats do not care about your children. They care about public employee unions. I told you this. You never believed me. You didn't believe anybody. You didn't believe Trump. You didn't believe anyone. So all they want to do is take $1.9 trillion, bail out the states that aren't even teaching the kids. That's what their money is for. So let's agree that's just as dumb can be. And since they've got to spend 2 times as much as President Obama did, so President Biden can say he's 2 times better than President Obama, then let's take their $1.9 trillion and at least do something with it. That $3,000 per kid over the age of 6 and $3,600 per child under the age of 6 in $250 or $300 monthly checks, that is smart. Along the spectrum of the possible. So if they're going to do something, get behind that. Now, a lot of you will say, all right, I'm not going to get behind that. That's terrible economics. I'm from the Cato Institute and we shouldn't spend any money. I know. You're from the Cato Institute and we shouldn't spend any money. I'm from reality. And the Democrats are going to spend $1.9 trillion. So those of us in reality, we believe in doing the least amount of harm with a profligate, deficit-busting, debt-increasing, ridiculous fire hose of money. And that's Richard Neal's $3,000 a child over the age of 6, $3,600 a child under the age of 6, and they pay it monthly from the IRS. No bureaucracy, no new specialist, no new nothing, right to mom or dad. Do it, do that, and then send some of the other money to senior citizens who are running out of money. And by the way, make teachers go back to the schools for which they are being paid to teach. All right, time for Relief Factor. You can post that, Harley. That's the one time the Democrats get something right speech. Among all the wrong things they're doing, the least wrong thing. Here's the best thing you can do for yourself, relieffactor.com. Did my 4 miles yesterday. Don't know if I'm going to do it today. It's cold in California. And so I tend to do it every other day when it's cold. But nevertheless, I've got my Trader Joe's sparkling water. Free cup for Trader Joe's. Why have I cut down on the lukewarm coffee, you might be asking? It has occurred to me that it might be having an adverse effect on the pipes. I drink so much coffee, so I've switched to cold water in the morning. And I want you to know that ReliefFactor.com won't help your vocal cords, but it will help your back, your knees, your shoulder. Support the temporary relief of minor aches and pains. Go get ReliefFactor.com today.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
And there's another headline I saw over at Politico that caught my eye. No, conservatives shouldn't quit on the GOP. There was a lot of party drama last night involving the freshman congresswoman from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Liz Cheney, the congresswoman from Wyoming. It appears the Republicans have stood by both of them. They're not stripping Marjorie Taylor Greene of being on any committees, and they're not stripping Liz Cheney of her leadership. Rich Lowry writes a pretty compelling piece, and he's not a Trump fan at all. But understand, the fortunes of our political parties, he writes, ebb and flow, and their iterations change over time, but they are robust, deeply embedded institutions of our public life that endure even after electoral disasters and self-sabotaging wrong turns. I mean, there are declarations now that the Republican Party is doomed. A former chair of the Washington State GOP wrote in an op-ed in the Seattle Times, "Let's form a new Republican Party." There's a CNN headline, "Should Republicans disband the GOP?" The former Republican Representative Mickey Edwards wrote, an article after January 6th saying he's quitting the party because it has become the opposite of what it was. Rich Lowry observes, this all seems a mite premature about a party that represents, roughly half the country and is on the cusp of a majority in the House, tied 50-50 in the Senate, and in control of the governorships in 27 states and both the governorship and state legislature in 22 of those.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
This is now a playbook. The secret history of the shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. This is not something where they just are going to disassemble this. This is how they're going to do it from this point forward. So what are the big takeaways? Number one, the left is just now realizing how much power they really have over us. I think they're still learning how to use that power. Number two, the left is willing at almost all costs to sacrifice truth for power. Number three, persuasion means very little when the other side is actually concerned of how the election is going to be conducted. You know, we joked around throughout the the first couple weeks after early November, after the election. We said it doesn't matter how people vote; it matters who counts the votes. Remember, we joked about that. Well, they say here in Podhorser's presentations, winning the vote was only the
Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. I got to do a fake news segment. I don't often do fake news segments, but the AP 19 minutes ago put out a fake news headline. Union approves deal with Chicago schools to return to class. All right, now listen to this. The Chicago Teachers Union has approved a deal. This is breaking news, so you should listen. Has approved a deal with the nation's third largest school district, Chicago, to get students back to class during the coronavirus pandemic, union officials announced early Wednesday. The vote by the union's roughly 25,000 members ends the possibility of an immediate teacher lockout or strike. The agreement follows months of negotiations, which had intensified in recent weeks, with plans that included more teacher vaccinations and metrics to allow school closures when COVID-19 infections spike. The union said 13,681 members voted to approve the agreement and 6,585 voted against it. In a statement, the union described the agreement as the absolute limit to which the CPS was willing to go at the bargaining table to guarantee a minimum number of guardrails for any semblance of safety in school, which is all nonsense, by the way, and the science underscores that. The union president, Jesse Sharkey, which I think is the greatest union president name ever, also criticized the agreement in an email to members that was released by the union. The plan is not what any of us deserve, Sharkey said. Not us, not our students, not our family. Here is the small print. The first wave of students in pre-K and special education. I repeat, in pre-K and special education are due back Thursday. Other students in K to 8 will return in coming weeks for limited classroom instruction. No plans have been set for high school students who will continue with online learning. So, the headline is, Union approves deal with Chicago schools to return to class. The report, 5 graphs in, is the first wave of students in pre-K and special education are due back on Thursday. Other students in K-8 will return in coming weeks for limited classroom instruction. No plans have been set for high school students who will continue with online learning. So the headline ought to be, Union approves deal with Chicago schools for students not to return to class, except for pre-K, maybe, on some occasions, when they feel like it. Chicago students are screwed for a second year. I don't know if they're ever going to go back. I really don't know. If I were a parent in Chicago, would you ever go back to these schools? I would not go back to these schools. These are not teachers that care about your students. These are not schools that exist for your students. These are not schools that your taxpayer dollars are going to. Start a homeless co-op. Start a homeschool co-op. Include some homeless if you'd like. Start a homeschool co-op today. Give up. Get the moms and dads in your neighborhood, whatever your economic situation is, do not go back to school. Just give up. Shut that thing down. Bankrupt it by virtue of not going. It's a complete and utter dysfunction. Chicago is a complete failure. It's like LA. It's like New York City. These are giant public employee unions that run the Democratic Party and the Biden administration, and they have screwed your kids completely. I cannot imagine. My children are grown, and my grandchildren are young enough that they are not impacted by this, and they're abroad, going to school most of the year, by the way. I just do not, I do not understand why the country has not risen as one. And it's because Joe Biden promised you he would do the opposite. And then Jen Psaki said yesterday this, cut number 5.
Sure. His goal that he set is to have the majority of schools, so more than 50%, open by day 100 of his presidency. And that means some teaching in classrooms. So at least one day a week. Hopefully it's more. And obviously it is as much as is safe in each school and local district.
When you say some teaching, you didn't use the same majority qualifier there. You just have to have some teaching in school, some teachers in school, not the majority of teachers in school and the majority of classrooms.
Well, teaching at least one day a week in the majority of schools by day 100.
Okay, and that's
you got that, didn't you? By May 1, just in time to go out on summer break, 50.0001% of schools must be open one day a week. That's Joe Biden's plan. You've been screwed. Look, you fell for it. I told you you hated Trump, so you went with Biden. And Biden is a creature of the public employee unions and the teachers unions. And they do not care about you. They care about their pensions, and they care about staying home. And I know there are a couple of teachers out there who are offended. I'm sorry. That's not you. I understand it. But your unions have absolutely screwed the children of America, and Joe Biden is allowing them to do so. And it's your own fault because you voted for these people. You voted for your school district officials. You voted for these teachers. Take your kids out of these schools, go to the Catholic school, and beg for a desk so that they do not fall into the crater. I'll be back in hour 2 on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. The American experiment is founded upon a presupposition, a prior commitment to an ordered liberty, an established order. That means policies. It means a covenant. In our case, it means a constitution. As of right now, the U.S. Constitution is the longest surviving written constitution in human history. It's a remarkable document. All of that came to the fore in violent events that interrupted the joint session of Congress to count the votes of the Electoral College. At the end of the day, our constitutional order proved itself once again resilient. But that doesn't take away any of the tragedy and the horror of what took place. It was an enormous stress test on ordered liberty, a stress test brought on by the President of the United States.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
It's an opportunity for the right, the left, conservatives, liberals, all Americans to repudiate political violence and reaffirm, once again, our commitment to ordered liberty. It's the American way. I'm Albert Mohler.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, American.
0.8 or so trillion. The primary reason is it's